another favorite of mine is people say, well, Mariamne is not Mary Magdalene's real name because that comes from the Acts of Philip, and the Acts of Philip and the Gnostic Gospels, and that's late. That's a late name for Mary. That's 4th century. Mary Magdalene died in the 1st century. There's hundreds of years that separate them, so there you go. What are they talking about? It doesn't really matter, really. I mean, George Washington is still George Washington. People don't change their names 200 years after they're dead. Somebody says, oh, let's change Mary Magdalene's name. Just give her arbitrarily Mariamne. Meaning whatever name you had, the fact that you have a 4th century or a 3rd century tradition, it doesn't matter. It's authoritative. People don't make hundreds of years later names up for people. So if Mary Magdalene was known as Mariamne in a text from the 4th century, that means that's what the tradition says that her name is. They didn't make it up. So, but Hippolytus, one of the church fathers, calls her, you know, seems to be talking about her, Mariamne. He says the torch went from James, the brother of Jesus, to Mariamne, right? Origen says Mariamne, same as Mariamne. So meaning that name is attached to Mary Magdalene from the 2nd, 3rd century. And that's authoritative. There's no other name attached to her. You know, nobody calls her Martha here and there. That's her name. And to suggest, well, it's the 4th century, I mean, it's just trying to dissect the argument for no reason. Meaning you have to look at it together. You have to be what, in British common law, there's the notion of the reasonable man. I mean, could aliens from outer space created this tomb? Yeah, maybe. But just the fact that it could be doesn't mean that it is. What you have to look is at the cluster of evidence. And the cluster of evidence is a lot more than could be. The DNA, the names, the archaeology, the statistics, the textual references to the names, they all tell the same story.